want to correct something. Um, and this fallacy has pursued me uh, for a very long time. And it comes from the snakes, from the minions of the devil. There is a fallacy that I only want to appreciate, or I only appreciate people who support me financially. And that when you don't support me financially, then you are second grade to me. This, of course, as I've said, comes from the devil. Because the motivation I have is far much beyond money. My motivation in doing what I do is not monetary. And God knows that it's not money. And really, if the motivation would have been money, I would have been more secular and attracted a lot of people who don't want to hear the God story, the Spirit, the cross, blood. They just don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear a lot of love. And by sticking to my philosophy about following Christ, I've lost out on so many people. I've had very wealthy people who are atheists writing to me and telling me, if you will stop talking about God and just talk about you and your ability to do things, because it is you who has been doing these things and not God. And if you'll acknowledge that and delete God from what you do, then we are going to support you. One wealthy man from, I think it was the Netherlands, wrote to me and said he's an atheist and he has money. He will build the Jika hospital for me if I delete God from my narrative. And I told him, respectively, sir, no thank you. I cannot stop talking about my God. And I told him I would have no other motivation that would fire up my passions apart from God. Because before the money factor came in, money found me doing these things. I've been out with people, helping people when I had no money. As a young man, I helped people. When I was a pupil at school, I would die for the class. I would tell the teacher, punish me and don't punish the whole class. I feel bad when you punish, especially girls. And in my primary school, we had caning. Caning now has been abolished, but we had caning. And so teachers would come in and really can you, give you six, they could say 6-0, which means it's 6 strokes of the cane on your sitters. And when you check out my sitters, they still have marks, horizontal marks that came from the strokes I received. And at some point I would say, no, don't cane that girl. Please just put it on me. And let me receive her caning. Let me receive her pain. And that is how I grew up. So it is something that is now manifesting at a larger scale, and therefore it calls for people's input. But the root of what I do actually it's from the heart. It comes from me as a person. It's part of my constitution. And as it grows, then it calls for the need to involve others, because now it is large, it is involving more people. So we need to get like-minded people to join me so that we can accomplish bigger things. And that is why in my ministry we never lack, because we do what we can with what we have. When it's not there, then we stop it there, because I believe that then God wanted me to work up to that level, that limit. And when he wants me to go further, then he makes provision and I break more ground and get deeper. For instance, we have people who need their houses cemented, and they are online. I'm waiting, and I've done a little bit of contributions, and like Concepta's house is having $80 and we need 300, and then now we are looking at the possibility of cementing Rossi's house, and all that different things. We are building now the orphanage at the hospital, and we've begun with the toilet, which is now complete. Then we move to a house, and all that. So as provision comes in, then we implement that with what God has given us, and therefore it is not about money. And I want the people who will be watching this video to understand that, and never to feel guilty for not being able to donate money, because it is not about money. It has never been about money. It wasn't about money in the beginning. The people who got to join me saw my video, and they joined without giving money. And so you came in because somebody was doing something, and so you don't it was no obligation in the beginning. And even your decision to follow our cause, it was personal, and it had nothing to do with what you are going to put into this. Our ministry is basically about love, offering the heart, offering our very selves into this. And when you give of yourself into something, you give of yourself with what you have. And the people who have got some money on them, as they give their hearts, the money will come with them. And others just have prayer, so they will come with the prayer that they have in their heart. Some have compassion, some have wisdom, so they'll pump in the wisdom and tell me, here, don't go like that, go this way, don't do that, don't say those things, don't act like that. I receive counsel from people, and it's all very, very important and godly. And I feel the inspiration of the Spirit in those words, in those gems of wisdom that is shared to me. And I don't despise what I've been told just because the person hasn't, contributed financially to rise up society. Instead, I truly appreciate the wisdom, the counsel that I receive from beautiful people who are supporting us. And so we have people, and they're doing all they can. Others just sit down to write comments, to make comments. And it's very important, because somebody will watch a video and go into at the comment section to see how people are feeling about this. And perhaps you have spoken something positive, and that thing will make them then give the money, because they could be having the money. So they listen to what you had to say, and they get something. Their spirit connects with something you said, and then they give. And, indirectly, you receive the blessing as a positive contributor in that regard. And so it is not about money. I saw my father, as a holy, quote unquote, as he was. Some people came to the church and accused him of stealing church money. And they broke away from church, and they took, almost everybody went away from his church on accusations of, taking church money. And it was not true. It was a lie. He had not been taken to be anything. People knew that apart from being a pastor here, this is somebody who will not amount to anything. And he was given such brilliant children, those that passed on. I had a sister person, and she was a genius. And sickle cell disease was taking his children. But those that remained, the hand of God was still on them, and they were so brilliant. My brothers in my family, we have been very, very, intelligent people. And so these people saw the children of this man they despised, going through school, and they would drop out of school because of school fees. But when they went back to school, they were always number one, and they were excelling academically. Then they were assuming that he's taking church money and using that to educate his children, which was not true. My father would never have done that. And so when I receive an accusation about stealing donations from the people who have never even given their donations towards the organization I lead, then I can relate to that. It happened in my own family. I saw it happening to my own father when he was being accused of stealing church donations. He was the minister who should have been in charge of really directing that. So when people give in the church, they basically are giving to God, but they're not really giving to God. They're giving to the ministry, to the church, and it is the leadership of the church that should really decide how to go about that. But the ignorance among people made him get really frustrated, and he shed tears when people walked out on him. And I was young, and I went to him and told him, Dad, God loves you, and we are here. We will have church, just us. And we were singers. I sang tenor, and he did bass, and my mom did soprano, and my sister Dora did alto. Now Dad and Dora went home to be with the Lord, but I and Mom are still there. So sometimes we do some singing, and I do tenor, and she does her soprano. And I told him, we will have church, Dad, don't worry. And we took the drums and went to the church and began having church and just having good time with the Lord, worshiping God. And people began, we got new people joining, and within about 6 months, he again had almost 80 members. And so the things that I see now happening in my own life are actually a repetition of what I have seen through my family, through my 41 years of mortality. And so it's not a new thing. But these things have to happen, and the sifting has to be there. And it draws me closer to God. It makes me more prayerful, more trusting in the power and authority of God. So, my friends, you are here for a reason, and never underestimate yourself. Never look into your wallet or your purse and let that limit you. God has put a fire in us, and we are touching lives, whether it's through prayer, whether it's through making a comment. We have people like Vivian Harding. She's everywhere with comments. And some people now, that is us kissing. You don't do that. People who have nothing good will throw darts at you when you are doing what you believe God has called you to do. So let us continue doing what God has called us to do. If He gives you money, then give the money. Don't be stingy, and I know you are not stingy. You don't have to be told to give. You don't direct how it is supposed to go, because you have confidence in my ability to execute that mandate that is divine. And I have assured you time and again that I will stand in the gap. I will be true. I'll be faithful. I will not abuse the substance of God. I will not eat up the seed from the master, but I will put it in the right soils, and it will sprout and bear fruit 100-fold. So let's do it, but never allow anybody or anything to stop you, to make you feel guilty about anything. And if I ever came across that way, because sometimes when you really need something and you see the need and you become a little desperate and the human nature swells within you, and then you appear to be, a bit, abrasive, a bit, you have to. I'm just being human. If I've come across in that fashion, I really repent. It wasn't really me doing that. It was just the circumstances that were making things appear so. But deep in my heart, I believe that we all have a role to play in this thing that is ours. Thank you for supporting, and let us keep doing it with the knowledge that without saying it, in due season, we will harvest if we faint not.